Hello everybody, my name is Alan from Saber Lab and today I will explain my experience with my Synology NAS. Yes, you're gonna ask Alan, really Synology NAS? Yes, I have here my Synology NAS. This one I bought almost a year ago and so far it's worked quite well. And I will explain what's my view about this box and if it's good or not. It's important to remember that Synology didn't give any of those parts and all the equipment that I'm reviewing or telling about, I bought myself. So it's only my opinion. No one is looking for it and no one is care about what I'm posting at this video. So if you like this idea and want to see a little bit more about this view and what's it's the good and bad point for this box, we're gonna show in this video. But first of all, don't forget to leave your like, consider to subscribe for the channel, and let's see how we can show it. First thing, it's good to remember, this one is a Synology NAS, the model is a DS920 Plus, and that's it's 920 with 4 bays, so I potentially can get 4 hard drives here. One of the good things for this Synology NAS is the option only for I open and I can remove my hard drive and it's done. Other thing that I will tell, this hard drive is only 4 terabytes and you're gonna ask Alan, you can put a big one, and I say yes, I can put big ones. What I need for this box, it's only 12 terabytes, so we'll fill it and will work well. Other thing that's important to remember, that you have some slots for SSD here. So if I remove it here, I have populated 2 SSDs inside. Both is exactly the same capacity and both is work exactly the same way. Those it's related from the cache. So because I have 2 in mirror, I can have a read and write cache. If I put it here back. Other thing that's interesting, it's the connection here in the back. So they have 2 connections, gigabyte. It means that potentially you could have 2 gigabytes if you have in bridge in your switch. Also, you have the power supply and a small SATA connection, a eSATA, that you can connect amplified. So you potentially could have 9 hard drives connected for this own box. Have this one in mind, now I can connect this one to my network, and that's I go to the computer to see and to show what application that I use and what's the good points and bad points. Before anything, I will not go for every point for this box. I will go only some base and what I use more and what I think that's interesting. And if you guys like this one, then I can potentially post a second video or third video about what's interesting or not and if it's worth to buy or not. Once that we open our IP address for our Synology NAS, they will already open this application or this desktop. This one is the standard from, I believe, that all the Synologies. If I come here, I can have some information for my servers. So in this way, my run memory is using 73%. And they show how much use resource. My CPU is really low. Here my IP address, and here's some information like my last backup or what is going on. If I remove it, if I come here in our packed center, so we have a lot of applications that we can install. We can install antivirus, we can install some activity backups, some file station and other kind of applications. If I come here, I will show how it's manage our storage. If I come to storage management, so in this Synology NAS, as I told, I have 4 bays. Each bay have a hard drive for 4 terabytes. If I come here in my pool, so I have all my hard drives and all those show as a health, and I have more 2 SSD. Those SSD I can only use for cache. I cannot use for anything else. I try to use those SSD in order to get extra capacity or use for a fast action application, but no, they don't work in this way. So these ones, it's only for cache and it's not good. They should allow you, if you want, not to use as a cache but use as a extra storage. So potentially I could put a 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes SSD and use as a normal extra capacity for me, but they don't work in this way. Also, if I come here, you need to have at least 2 SSD for be able to habilitate the read and write cache. If you have only 1 SSD, they will only allow the read cache. If you have the option for read, they will copy some information for your normal hard drive and leave there as a fast read cache. In this way, I have 2 that they are configured as a RAID 1, so they are mirror. If one fail, I will still have my data, but if I remove those, potentially I could lose all my data that sits in this cache because they're reading and they don't copy for my hard drive unless they think that's required or I request to remove this. Other thing that's interesting is this Synology hybrid RAID. What it means, I have 4 hard drive for 4 terabytes each. It means that if one hard drive fail, I still have my data and don't lose it. If 2 fails, yes, all my data is gone, I cannot do anything unless I do some backup. Imagine that I have all these hard drives and one of those fail and that I want to replace it. In a normal RAID 5 configuration, you need to replace with the same size of hard drive. So if I have a hard drive for 4 terabytes, if I want to replace, I need to replace for 4 terabytes hard drive. But in this way, I don't need to do the same. I can replace with any kind of hard drive. Of course, if you put a little bit bigger, they will compromise a little bit some things with the speed. But yes, I can do it. I can potentially get a 10 terabytes hard drive and put there and it will work well. Also, I can set some hot spare. So I can come here and set up which hard drive that I want to be a hot swap. And I can swap as long as I want and I can configure it. Let me close here. Other thing that's quite interesting for this Synology NAS is the ability for hyper backup. This one is really similar what they work for duplicate, but it's a Synology version. How it's work? They can do a incremental backup every time. What I configure that every day at 2 o'clock in the morning they will do a backup in my Google account. So I will make a copy for all my data or incremental backup in there. As I configure it, if I come here, I can see how much I increase for each day and how much I'm going for. So if I come here in my edit, my configuration, and I wait a little bit, here it's all my homes. I have lots of different backups. Because this ArcLone already have all my files in the Google, so they will backup of the backup will be a look like it will not work well. But the rest I can potentially backup anytime. And if I come here in my application, I can backup my application as well. And the retention. This one is the interesting thing that you have for your Synology NAS. The same thing that you can do in your duplicate, but in this Synology NAS, they work quite easy and you don't need to configure any extra application. How it's work? In my case, I define that I want to keep 1024 backups, and this one they will keep the first each day, and that's once a week, once a month, and continue on until 10 years time. So potentially if I lose some information or potentially I want to recover something that was backup 10 years ago, I can backup it. I don't know if it will be working and if it's worth to do it, but yes, you potentially can do it. I always set up because if I modify anything, I want that at the end of the day we'll have a second copy outside from my house in the case that this Synology burn. Other thing that's interesting is snapshot application. If I open here, I can set up some snapshot. So I come here in my snapshots and come here in my home. Then once I configure it, I set up that will be everyday snapshot and they will keep 128 snapshot. It means that will work exactly the same as ZFS when I have the true NAS. If I open my SMB for this folder and I open this folder called games, here I can do exactly the same that I would do if I'm using the true NAS. Come here, properties, previews, and I have different versions. Exactly the same as true NAS. Also, you have others application that you can only install. Come here in packaging and install it. I have some beta applications, look like the Plex, it's beta, surveillance, and others. And then I just told what is interesting for it. But then I will put some negative parts. Then I will say this CPU in this NAS, it's really low power. And potentially I have more powerful CPUs there in the other computers. And you're gonna ask why I'm still using this one. Because of this CPU, it's really low power. If I want to use as a Plex server, they will not work so well. Because first of all, you cannot define that all the Plex configuration will be in SSD, so they will take time to load all the pictures. You cannot have a transcode, or you cannot configure to make a multiple transcode because you don't have a powerful CPU. You cannot do a hardware transcode in this one, and you cannot add a graphic card to make a GPU transcode. So as a Plex server or media server, they don't work so great. Also, because of the limitation of RAM memory, you can only set up maximum, I think that's 8 GB. In my case, I have only 4 because I didn't want to upgrade it. but you cannot upgrade with any kind of RAM memory, or at least they don't advise to do it. Yes, you can update, you can get any DDR4 and add there, but they suggest you to use the Synology specific RAM memory to guarantee that your data will not be corrupt. It's good, yes, it's good, but then the cost of this RAM memory is quite high, and you cannot buy anyone, and you cannot upgrade more than 8. Once that you want to put some temp information, your memory RAM, you have limitation on 8 GB maximum. Other thing, you have on a gigabyte network connection, the model that I have. Okay, 2 GB. If you have a switch that have a 2.5 GB, yes, you can connect that to, and that you use 2 GB. This system, it's really low power, and for the price that you're gonna pay, you can get a really more strong system. You can have a true NAS server or open media vault service that will work better or will have a better performance. And you say yes, I totally agree with you. And this reason that I have a second server that is working with Open Media Vault, and that I have most of my application. This Synology NAS I use only for basically three things, let's say. The first thing that I use this Synology NAS is for these Synology photos. If you remember some previous video, I tried to use different applications for managing my pictures. And for these different applications, they work well, but have some limitation. First of all, I like to take pictures. And all the pictures that I used to take, I used to get a hard drive and put my pictures in this hard drive, and that's put in 2 different places. And once that I want to access it, I need to go there and look for these pictures. The same thing, I have some pictures in my NAS server before. And these pictures was only usable if I look for folder by folder. Then I try to test different applications to use the same thing that Google Photos do. But then come the problem. They don't work so well. Once that you have a lot of pictures, or they need too much RAM memory, or they need too big cache, or they simply don't work as expected, then you have the problem that they don't work as you want. So in this way, Synology NAS replace it. You have all your pictures, and you can see your pictures. You have different ways to manage it. You can manage as a timeline, or you can manage as a folder. So if you separate for different folders and you come here, they will show this. You have really good application to run in the phone. Sorry, let me return for base. You have application that work in the phone. Not really good, they work quite well, but they could improve some points. But as they work quite well. Basically, you have the application on your phone that will backup automatically for your NAS, and that in this way you can clean for your phone, and you guarantee that this information is there. Have some limitation, yes, sometimes when the file is too big, or the internet is not so fast, or maybe the application don't want to answer in this way, you don't work so well. Other thing, sometimes when you try to browse it, they first need to copy a cache in your phone. And sometimes to copy this cache and to process it, they take a little bit time. Because I don't have only SSD in my server, I have hard drive because it's basically cheap. As well, they don't allow you to have that SSDs as a normal file. So they take a little bit time to read everything and try to organize for send for your phone. So you take some minutes until they start to work well, until they have some cache in your phone. Also in this application you have automatic albums. So you have how to define for people, for place, for tags, and for videos. So it's quite useful because I want to see all the pictures that have my face, or I want to see all the pictures that have my wife, or all the places that I visit. As well, they show a map where I was in that time, or where is the pictures for that place. And I can set up some tags. These tags I never use because I don't think that it's so good, but yes, I have the possibility, but I never use it. The videos, yes, I will use quite a lot because sometimes I want to see only the videos that I record from that specific place, or only the videos that I record in 2020. You have the application that phone that you can share. This is a good thing. You can create a lot of users in this application, and that each one can share and communicate with each other, and you can share the files between them. And you can browse it, and as I told, you can backup everything in your phone, and you can see more or less by date. This option for the US I never use, I don't know how it's work, and that's it. So I told the first one, Synology Photos. The second one, Hyper Backup, because duplicate work, but once that you have too much files, they don't work so well. And the last one, it's for my file system. So all my files is located here. I can look for my files. I don't look this web browser because it's not so good. I think that's Nextcloud work a little bit better, but I have my browser. So I know that I will copy some information there and they will do backup in the end of the day and I will not have trouble. It's basically a solution for someone that don't want to have too much work. They only come there and install it. The Docker option work well? No, because the CPU is not so powerful, and if you have so much application in your Docker, they will start to bottleneck with run memory and other things. Maybe if I wanted to get a Docker option, I should look for a better Synology NAS. But then if I go for a better Synology NAS, it's better to get a proper computer or proper server that will give more for your price. Either that you get a enterprise computer that you're gonna pay half of price for a better Synology NAS. So you need to make a balance. In my case, this Synology that I use, it's good for what I need. Photos and storage of data that I know that will be backup in the rest of the day. The rest of the application, I don't use so much, I use my server. So, as I told, this video will be basically why I use it and what is interesting, what's not. I don't go too much in depth what's it's important, how it's the performance, what's it's the comparison between a server and a Synology NAS, no, I didn't do it. I only go for why I use it, and why maybe will fit for you and why maybe will not fit for you. So if you like this video, please don't forget to leave your like, consider to subscribe for the channel, and see you next time. Bye.